I have a newfound respect for the Purge movies, for the concept of the Purge movies. I don't think of them the same way anymore. I was wrong. Something that
I'm sorry, Greg. Can you say that sentence again? I
was wrong. I was incorrect.
Sorry. Sometimes the when you say those syllables,
I know. I don't admit it often. Odd, I don't admit it often, but what I'm saying is
you were Wait, what? Sorry. One more time for me.
I was wrong.
Oh, okay. Correct. Thank you, Graham. Thank you.
Oh no.
Yeah, welcome to our Oh No podcast about Oh No movies.
Yeah.
Today we got an Oh No one for you.
I'm already thinking about how Jonathan's going to rate what we saw today, but I already know neither of us is going to rate it well. But and this is one of those things where there's two types of bad movie. There's ones that you go in where you're like, this is going to be bad. And then there's other ones where you go in and say, this could be okay, and then it completely defies even the expectation that it'll be mediocre. Which is what this movie did.
Yeah, so this is the fifth movie in the Purge series.
Fifth? Oh, I thought there were only three.
No, this is the fifth one.
Oh, okay.
No, so there's the Purge. That was the Ethan Hawke one.
Which I saw.
You did see
that?
I
had problems with it. I think we watched it together years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I had issues with it, and I thought the premise was idiotic. I mean, but I definitely acknowledge it's a far better movie than this was. But
yeah.
So the first one was the Ethan Hawke one. And then...
and I'll go over... We'll go into more detail. We want to do another podcast of, all the movies. But, for the most part, since Anarchy, I really enjoyed this series. Daniel and my brother saw Anarchy in theaters, absolutely loved it, thought Frank Grillo was awesome. And then election year, Frank Grillo's back, it's fun. There's cool, old black guy who wants to protect his, deli, and he's fun. And then, it's kind of just a wacky, zany, and fun action flick. It's really enjoyable. The first Purge was not as good as those others, but I think it had its merits. It was a fun ride. It was violent, it was gritty. The Nazi dude at the end was was entertaining to watch, have him murdered and all that fun stuff. So it was a good movie. I love the series so far. I tried the TV show, thought it was lame. And going into this movie, all I knew is the idea of if you know anything about the Purge movies, it's 12 hours of crime, and now people want to just keep doing it. So across the country, everyone just starts or continues purging after the cutoff time. And I heard that plot, and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool idea. Mm-hmm. I wonder what they'll do with it. And it turned out they just made a really lame movie.
Yeah.
Lame
and forgettable, because I'm already forgetting large chunks of it. I'm kind of slapping myself in the head, because it's I probably should have taken notes on this, because this shit is not going to be remaining in my memory for very long. There are other things my brain has to do to occupy itself other than thinking about this film. And it's I haven't seen all the Purge movies, but my impression when I watched this tonight, we watched it in the theater, so it should have been a great experience and wasn't, but my impression when I watched this, even though I haven't seen most of the other Purge films, I've only seen the first one and then this fifth movie, it felt this is the equivalent of Friday the 13th Part 7, or one of those interchangeable sequels that doesn't try at all, doesn't do anything original with the series, and just kind of exists and is very skippable. That's what this was. It felt like.
You know what pisses me off about this one too? Is that it's kind of what pissed me off about Saw 7, the final chapter. Is this was supposed to be, evidently, I kind of doubt it, but it's supposed to be the last one. Oh, now, is it going to be the last one? honestly, each one has only been making more money. And I'm sure this one's going to make money, so I kind of doubt they're just going to stop it here. And it didn't really seem like that much of a stopping point anyway. I mean, kind of based on the end, but like it's an anthology series, so it doesn't need to. I honestly...
Nothing about the ending even indicated... It wasn't even like, this is the epic conclusion. It just kind of like... Yeah. It ended really abruptly, in my opinion. Like, there was like a resolution to the character's boring story, but it didn't feel like this like wrap-up of a 5-episode series of films.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, this is the last one? Fuck that. No, make another one. It's kind of like what I thought when I saw 7. I'm like, no, don't end it. No, give me 8.
And they did make another one.
I'm like, you can't end the story here. No, please, come on. Yeah, so, and no spoilers yet, obviously, but, I mean, yeah, I mean...
And I have to say, it wasn't just, like, the fact that Jonathan and I are, like, jaded movie cynics, that, it wasn't just us. I mean, because... Well, we have a little anecdote about a specific person that we met in the theater, but like continuously while the movie was going on, I could hear snickers and people making jokes and like pointing out like inconsistencies and just things that were just stupid in the movie. Like nobody in that theater was like taking it seriously, and you know.
And you don't have to for this series.
But I mean, like nobody was even... Way. Yeah, people were just like, what is this?
They were just kind of detached. Like, I felt like everyone in the theater was just detached. Like, the lady next to me who just, like, made a comment, like, why don't they just do this?
Yeah.
Like, she didn't even say it, like, excitedly, like, no, like, run them over. She was just like, why don't they just, like... run them over.
There's an atmosphere. You know? There's a certain atmosphere. There's an atmosphere in a theater when the audience is gripped by what they're seeing, and this was like the opposite of that.
Yeah, no one cared.
There were a lot of people that I noticed like getting up to take bathroom breaks, but it's like, do you really need to go to the bathroom, or do you just need to step outside and not watch this shit for like a couple minutes?
No, yeah, because we have to tell the story about that one guy. He was really cool. He was a dude bra, but he was still very cool. No, so we were in line to get our popcorn and beverages, and he like saw my Charlie XCX shirt, and he's like, "Whoa, that's cool. What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's Charlie XCX. Have you heard of her?" And he's like, "Oh, no, I haven't." And then he just like turned around and like hugged his girlfriend. I'm like, okay.
So yeah, no, that was our first encounter.
Then he ended up sitting next to us.
Yes. Yeah. Somehow the assigned seats in this huge theater just landed us right next to this guy and his girlfriend. So Jonathan like got up and went to the bathroom or whatever. So while he was like away, this guy like, or it was right before, I think it was like right when the last trailer started, he leaned over to me and he's like, "So what do you think? Is this going to be good or is this going to suck?" And then I just said, I don't know. I don't really know these movies. Jonathan, or, I got dragged to this by him, and then I just indicated the empty seat where Jonathan left. So, yeah, that was our second encounter. And then, our third encounter, well... Actually, we didn't encounter him, per se, during the movie, but he did fall asleep for 20 minutes in the middle of the movie, and I don't blame him, because I almost fell asleep after he woke up. But I heard this dude bra, to my left, or to my right, snoring. For 20 minutes of the movie, and then he woke up, and he's, I remember I could I sensed him, jolting. And he's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, we're watching this movie."
Wait, did his girlfriend drag him to see The Purge?
I think so. I don't know. I think they just
it's more of a dude bra movie.
It seemed like they just arbitrarily decided, they looked at what movies were playing and they're like, "We'll just see this one." And then after the movie was over, the dude bra leaned over to me and he's like, "Man, that sucked." Or, is that what he said?
No, he was he looked over to both of us. He's like, "Man, that movie fucking sucked."
Yeah, that was kind of more of a
It was so good.
Yeah, and I was just like, yeah, it was awful. And I don't remember what you said, but yeah.
Just everyone leaving the theater just looked so bored. like like everyone, I was like watching people because we were at the top row, so we had to like wait for some people to get out, and I was just watching people's facial expressions, just of like, I guess I just did that, like, on everyone.
Yeah,
man.
There was probably some regret from people who like spent the full $14 or whatever for tickets. But yeah, I mean, it was incredibly disappointing.
I'm glad I used my 2 quote unquote free tickets of, on my card.
Now, and like one of the things that really bothers me about that is like this could have been a good movie, and you were saying like in the hands of like a capable director like Robert Rodriguez, this would have been great. Or could have been.
Like he could have written these characters like, so the movie is about these, immigrants and their community who are hiding out, and then they have to go on the run because they leave the like safe house, but after the purge is over, but then people are still purging, and I guess instead of going back to the safe house, they just fuck around and like run around places, and then it follows those characters, and then it follows these white ranch owners with paid employees, and then like they collide and like gang up or join forces to like get to the border because the Mexican border is opening for them, or for U.S. citizens for 6 hours who want to escape.
Right.
So it's just this like chase to the border. It's almost like a quote unquote like road trip movie for a little bit, where they're like trying to get to the border.
Well, I want to back up a little bit because
that's what the movie is about. But there's a lot to talk about before then.
I want to talk a little bit about like the groundwork of the movie. So the main our set of main characters is this kind of like quasi like racist Texan white guy who owns a horse ranch, and he lives with his wife, and if I'm not mistaken, he lives with his wife and his sister. And then he has like a Mexican immigrant as his employer, and so there's like a little bit of like racial tension that's developed because like they're like the opening scene has this ranch owner, this white quasi racist ranch owner, like grappling with this difficult horse, and then the Mexican immigrant guy, like who is his employee, like comes in and calms down the horse and just like stands him up in front of his entire family and his wife and embarrasses him. So there's like a little bit of tension where it's like established early on these two guys don't like each other. And this is an important detail because there's a scene later in the movie that's supposed to be like the resolution scene where these guys work out their differences, and it was like so poorly written and disappointing.
I don't think it was the resolution scene. I think that scene was more of like, like, let's have these characters talk about the issue at hand and also talk about race relations in America scene.
Kind of, but literally that conversation was like 5 lines of dialogue.
Dude, I could recite most of it.
It was we will later, but,
okay,
but I'm still like kind of giving some expository stuff here. So like the purge, the night of the purge is like approaching. Like so they like it's like the day before the purge starts that like they start the movie. So, ranch guy and his family, they board up their like they show the shutters closing as the sun's going down, and then his employee, the Mexican immigrant guy, he goes to this like warehouse where other Mexican immigrants are all staying to like hide from the purge. All right. So basically what happens is and this was another major problem I had with the logic of the movie, is the next day when everybody goes out after their shutters open back up and the purge is supposedly over, they immediately start getting attacked by people, and they realize that like the purge is continuing. There's this group of like what they think are like vagrants who decided to just continue attacking people after the purge is supposed to be over.
Yeah, they're supposed to be like racist protesters who are driving around like, saying these things out of the loudspeaker, like, we're here to like purge those who have come to America legally and like of our other races, and like bring America back to be great again.
Well, but if I'm not misinterpreting the plot, this continuation of the purge is not just happening in this particular area of Texas.
Yeah,
it's
like
nationwide.
It's throughout the nation.
Which leads me to my major problem my major problem with the premise of the entire movie, which is how did nobody know about this? Like there was no like okay, so you have this coordinated great. You have this like coordinated like effort. You have this coordinated continuation of the purge. Like everybody who's participating in this Forever Purge, they all knew about it beforehand, right? So the question I had is how do these like rebels throughout the country all know about this extended purge and the FBI doesn't know anything about it? There's like nobody knows. Nobody suspects it's going to happen. It's like how do you like have a nationwide coordination of something like this with nobody finding out at all whatsoever? Look, I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's stupid, but like I'm okay with it. Like I'll give it a pass. Like, that's my thing. Is like, okay, I'll give it a pass because I like the idea of the purge just continuing because of racist protesters. I like that idea, so I'll give it a pass. But my problem is what they did with it.
Yeah.
Well, look, man, I'm not going to go to a Purge movie for, like, a plot that makes sense. I want to go to a Purge movie for something that isn't fucking lame, and this is what the movie was.
Yeah, well, that was my main criticism of the first movie, too. I mean, I just, like, when something is so improbable that I'm, like, sitting there saying, like, I can't accept this premise. I can't accept this premise. My suspension of disbelief is failing me here. That happened in the first movie, but it was, like, 10 times worse in this one. Because it's just
now, I mean, well, I mean, if you're talking about just the idea of the purge being enacted by, like, this, like, racist party that gains power, I mean, honestly, nowadays, in 2021, it's not that crazy anymore.
It's not.
I could totally see a purge thing being enacted in, like, 10 years. I could totally see that fucking happening.
It's not, but, like, a nationwide coordinated effort to continue the purge is not something that would just wholesale get past the FBI.
No, and I think what they tried to play it off as is like, oh, well, people just all around the world, like, started doing it. So, like, one group of people started doing it, and then, like, just groups of people all across the world, like, it was trending on Twitter, and now everyone's doing it.
So their social commentary, commentary is like, you know, the world is so disoriented right now that, like, this is just going to happen everywhere naturally because, like, society is breaking down everywhere. And so, like,
honestly, it could
like,
be.
The instinct to continue the purge is just pervasive. It's just everywhere. I guess I
honestly kind of think that's what they were going for. Now that I think about it, like, because you told me that in the car, and I thought about it a little bit, and I'm like, maybe that's what they were trying to say. Like, they were kind of trying to do a commentary also on, like, maybe social media or something like that.
Yeah, and I want
to... How quickly you can spread, like, you know, hateful ideas on the internet or something.
And I'm not going to get into any, like, political discussion here, but I do want to say that one of the things that made me respect the whole idea behind the purge was seeing what happened on January 6th of this year. So, like, the January 6th, like, insurrection made me, like, rethink the whole concept of the purge and think of it in a different light. As did the post George Floyd riots last year. Mm-hmm. So, like, those two events, they made me realize, okay, this is a little bit closer to what could actually happen than I had initially thought. Because when I saw the first Purge movie, I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is never going to happen in this country. But what that proves is that the original Purge is a good piece of science fiction because great science fiction predicts things like this accurately. That's why 1984 is such a great book because of the predictions that it made about, you know, how the power of the state would be wielded in the future, and it was. So, you know, there are very disturbing parallels between what's happening today and old great science fiction novels. So I have a newfound respect for the Purge movies, for the concept of the Purge movies. I don't think of them the same way anymore. I was wrong. Something that
sorry, Greg. Can you say that sentence again? I
was wrong. I was incorrect. It's
sorry. Sometimes the when you say those syllables,
I know. I don't admit it often. I don't admit it often, but what I'm saying is
you were reading. Wait, what? Sorry, one more time for me.
I was wrong.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you.
The premise of the Purge movies is something that at some point in the near future could happen. Something similar to it or parallel. I wouldn't at this at this point I feel like nothing but that being said,
well, if Joe Biden dies and Kamala Harris is like the nominee, and then Donald Trump Jr. runs, and then he gains power, and then it just continues forever. I mean, maybe that purge can happen. After
the race riots last year, and race riots last year, and then January 6th this year, my opinion of what what could happen, my opinions on what could happen have changed radically. I'll just say that.
Honestly, the purge wouldn't be that bad of a concept. There's people I could get rid of. I'm not gonna name names, but there's only one name, and he's a deadbeat, as they call them that I know of. That I'm not saying I would. I'm just saying if the purge happened, one could hypothetically think that the idea of his non-existence would be possible.
Right.
But anyway, so
we should get back to the movie.
This movie was lame, dude. Everything about it was lame. So what made the other movies cool is they generally had like really good leads, or they had fun characters, or they didn't take themselves that seriously. This movie took itself too seriously, and it didn't do it well. If you're going to take yourself like I kind of got that feeling, like the other ones, like Anarchy was pretty dark, but like there were elements that were kind of cartoony, and I felt that about the other two after that preceded Anarchy. Like, it did not take themselves seriously. They were goofy, they were kind of cartoonish, but they were still dark, they were still exploitation films, and it was a pretty good mix of all that. This one really didn't have anything fun about it. Like,
no,
the violence in it was lame. It was all CGI gore when there was gore. There was a lot of off-screen stuff. The stuff that was on screen was tame. It was just like, it wasn't fun to watch. On top of that, you have characters that you don't care about. You don't have like a Frank Grillo type in this movie.
Right.
And the one character who was kind of enjoyable at the beginning died. The guy the old dude that was the ranch owner's like father, he's like, the son's
that
like,
guy was cool.
I liked him.
The guy who gave like he gave like the socially conscious speech about like the breakdown of America. Oh, that was wonderful.
Yeah, and then like the son was like, I don't like Mexicans or whatever, and then he was like, and then like he went, the old dude like gave the Mexican immigrant worker like money to protect himself for the purge, and he's like, some people in this country forget what America's actually about. It's about equal opportunity and acceptance of other cultures. He's like,
now people just hate each other. Yeah. And, like it was a great, like, really cheesy like speech, and then he fucking got shot.
Yeah, and then he just gets killed, and I'm like, there goes the only good character in this fucking movie.
I have like there's like a saying that I used to say about like really mediocre movies, which is, when you have none of the leads or the supposed people you're supposed to root for are interesting, at least you can root for the villain to kill them. But not only are the lead characters boring, the villain sucks too in this. Like, he sucks. Yeah. He's not in the movie enough. He's only in it for like the last quarter of the movie. He doesn't really do anything. He's like not a charismatic villain. He's not interesting. He doesn't actually like harm. He isn't even able to harm any of the main characters in any way, really. And like, and to your point about like instantly killing off characters that we actually want to see more of, they did that with the cool black guy too. There was like this like.
Well, they didn't kill him off, but they didn't
kill him off. No, I said, but they purged.
Just casted him away. They purged him.
No
away.
pun intended, but like. Yeah, like there was like this cool black guy who like helped out the main characters for like a bit of the movie because he got like. So what happened?
It was like a 1 minute scene where like, the black dude was like helping the Mexican girl.
Yeah, and the Mexican girl, they got arrested because like the cops didn't. The cops the morning after the purge, they didn't know that about the extended purge. So they just found like one of the main characters and the cool black guy like right after they had killed two people who were trying to kill them as part of the purge.
Can we talk about that?
And then, well, hang on. But then we will talk about that. But they arrested her and the black dude, and then like. And then the police vehicle crashed because they got shot at by vandals. But then, like, they were, the main characters were like, "Hey, you should come with us. We're stronger together." And the guy was like, "No, man, I'm gonna go off on my own."
No, I don't want to be in this shitty movie. I'm gonna go away.
And he just disappeared, and we never saw him again. And Jonathan and I were like, at the end of the movie, we were like, "Man, this would have been a much more interesting movie if we had just like followed that guy instead of these people."
Yeah.
Which leads to another thing because. One of our criticisms of the plot was, these main characters, they weren't like the people who said, hey, even though they're opening up the border and we could go and get out of this, maybe we should stay and fight for our country because we love America.
That would have been cool.
That could have been like the struggle of these characters against the racist redneck vandals who wanted to continue the purge. That would have been a more interesting movie than just people trying to take a truck to the Mexican border. But anyways, you said you want to talk about the scene with like the rabbit head guys who got killed.
Oh yeah. By the way, the girl that was sitting next to me made a comment about this as well.
You have to bring up her motorcycle scene comment too later.
I already did.
Oh, okay. No, you did. You didn't say what she said. You just mentioned like she said they should have done this.
I swear I did.
But we'll go into like the
recording will answer.
We'll go into like the 5 minutes of the movie where this tried to be Mad Max and failed, and then like, the girl made fun
Mad
of it.
Max bullshit. Yeah, no, but anyway, so like, there's a scene where these like bunny men, like people, like there's like
They
people
have creepy,
in, like,
bloody bunny masks.
they have creepy, bloody bunny masks, and they try to trap one of the protagonists. And then cool black guy saves the protagonist, and in the process, they both kill the people who are obvious purgers in the bunny masks. And then the police show up and they're like, "Hey lady, don't you know the purge is over? You're coming with us." And then like the girl next to me was like, "Wait, like she's like, shouldn't they be like thinking like the bunny people were the purgers? They're not wearing masks." That's
right.
what the lady said, and that's exactly what I thought.
It's like
what? Wait, why do you think these two like people who are obviously just like normal dressed people are like purging right now? Like,
right.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and like so there's two dead people on the ground with creepy bunny masks on, and the cops aren't just like, I wonder what they're up to.
Yeah, one of them is dressed in like a worker's uniform. Like you don't maybe think that like they were victims at all. Like just it's like the dumb cops who as a plot device, arrest the protagonist temporarily. That's all it was. No, but like, dude, the movie it's such a nothing burger, It's just, like, it tries to do all these things that just are lame in the end. Like, my favorite part was, like, one of the, shoot-outs at the end, where it's, like, the cool, like, Indian chief, Native American chief.
The cool. You might have to edit out that part.
No, it's a common mistake. Please forgive me, listeners.
No.
No, I'm not editing it out. Fuck it.
No, just think of him as like
the cool Native American,
cool Native American guy with
leader.
with like the what do they call the side curls that he had? Like I don't even know what those are called.
Braids.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, like the one shootout they have at the end lasts for like 1 minute. And my favorite part about that was these like cool Native American dudes were like, "We've been protecting this land for 50 years. Or for 500 years. I think we can help you out here." And then like 1 minute later, they're like, "We're out of ammo." Like, what?
Yeah.
And then but that's the thing. Like, it's just lame. It's just like, really, you're 1 minute. 1 minute is your fucking scene of the shootout.
I was genuinely shocked, Jonathan, when you told me that the guy who wrote the first movie wrote this one, because
I believe so. Don't quote me.
Look, this to me felt like one of two things. It felt to me at first like this is somebody who's never written a screenplay before, who has no idea what they're doing, or this person just did not give a shit about what they were writing. Because the writing is awful throughout. Like,
It's shit.
The characters are horribly underdeveloped. There are scenes that are just so poorly written. Like, there's like scenes that are supposed to have gravitas in like a normal formulaic movies, but they just are pulled off so badly here. So remember I said earlier in the review that there's some tension between the like slightly racist rancher guy and the Mexican immigrant who's in his employ. And like they have a scene later in the movie where like they're like driving the truck and they're like trying to survive the purge. And so, you know, the Mexican immigrant guy, what was the name of that character? I don't remember anybody's name.
I don't remember anyone's name, but anyways, which is not a good sign.
So the main like Mexican immigrant guy, he turns to the rancher and he says like, "You really don't like me, do you? You don't like me because I'm Mexican."
Oh yeah.
And the guy's like, "It's not really that." You know, and he says something along the lines of, you know...
You forgot the cut the shit line.
He's like, oh yeah, well...
Remember, he's like, slice... What do you say? Slice the shit? And then he's like, no, you cut the shit. He's like, so cut the shit with me. And he's like, all right, I'll cut the shit. And then go on.
So he says something along the lines of, like, I don't have anything against Mexican people. I just think maybe it's, like, better for both of us if we just, like, stick to our own kind. And then, like... This is literally how the scene, like, ends. Like, the Mexican guy's just like, yeah, maybe you're right, but we're stuck in this shit together, so, you know, we'll have to, you know, get used to it, or something like that.
Just
and then, like,
I mean,
that's it. Then the scene just ends, but it's like, isn't this, like, the moment where, like, these two are supposed to have, like, a meaningful scene?
Yeah, this was supposed to be the bonding moment between the two, but really it was just...
It was like 2 lines, and but it's like... This was a movie that was, like, starving for some kind of character development, and they could have given us, like, something like that there, but they didn't. Like, nobody in this movie has any, like meaningful scene together. Can you think of a single moment where, like, characters were interacting in a meaningful way? Ever at all.
Nothing that was actually meaningful.
Like, there was a scene where, like, everybody was, like, you know, like, the old, like, grandpa guy was, like, dancing with his daughter or granddaughter or whatever, and, like, they're, but, like, they showed, like, basic, like, brief moments of domestic, like, interaction, but it, like, there was no, like, real chemistry among any of these characters.
Yeah, and it's not like the other movies were, like, brilliant examples of character development or anything, but you at least had, like, a character who was fun to watch and who had, like, at least one thing about them that drove the movie. So you had, like, cool, like, older black dude. Okay, he was cool to watch, you know. They had some character development at the beginning. And then, like, what did he want to do? Protect his deli. Yeah. And he was very adamant, and that was his goal. In Anarchy, Frank Grillo, he wants to take revenge on one guy on Purge Night and wants to track him down. Yeah. He's cool, and he has, you know, a directive.
And that's great. Yeah, that's a cool kind. And that's like
these people are just like, I don't know, I guess we'll go out and, like, try to survive, and let's go to the border, and
do you know like, the pathetic thing that they tried to throw in this movie to make us care about these people was one of them's pregnant. That was, like, their way to make us care about them. One of them's pregnant. Like, that was all they could come up with to, like, make us care, and I still didn't.
Dude, I will say, I was surprised, because this isn't... look, unless you, like, really care about spoilers, like, this, I guess it's a spoiler, but it isn't. She has the baby.
Nobody's gonna give a shit anyways.
She has the baby, but it's like, she has the baby in in Mexico. So I thought they were gonna do a thing where, like, their semi-racist white dude father was, like, triggered that the baby was a Mexican. They didn't go there? I don't know. I thought they were going to, because these movies are pretty ham-fisted with their political commentary.
Maybe that was supposed to be the indication that the guy had, like, accepts all people, including Mexicans, as equal.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then do you remember that random, like, love interest subplot that, like, went nowhere?
I didn't even know there was one.
No, did you notice there was, like, the blonde sister of, like, the racist dude who was, like, into, like, one of the Mexican guys who worked there?
Like, the main Mexican guy's, like, friend.
Yeah, there was, like, obvious, like, romantic tension between them, and then the dude just gets killed, and then like, when they all come together again, like she sees that he died, and she just has this face of like, oh no, and then that's it. It never talks about it again. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's just like, what? It felt like this guy just like rattled off a screenplay in like a couple days, and like there was no time to edit it. Like, because like it's stuff like that. Like you can't just like introduce this potential subplot and then it goes nowhere. Mm-hmm. You can't just like send like the heroic cool black guy off with like the sort of like indication he's going to come back later, and then we never see or hear anything about him again. Like, that is called, like, that's what unfinished screenwriting looks like. Mm-hmm. That's like somebody who just wrote a first draft, and then that ended up being the final screenplay.
This felt like a first draft. This didn't feel like they even, like, cared to go over it.
Yeah, and I can actually visibly see that there were, like, some of the actors in the movie, like, I felt like they didn't care about it either.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
they didn't.
Like, they looked bored, too.
They got some... The thing that's confusing to me is, like, all the other... and maybe these other actors are prominent in, like, television or something, and I just don't know, but, like, they got Frank Grillo, they got Ethan Hawke for one of them, they got that lady from Lost, who's... Like, they got good people. Like, I'm kind of confused why they just went with these people that... I mean, I don't know them. Maybe they're popular somewhere, but, like, not one name is, like, notable and, like, a good actor... Like, none of them?
No, I don't know any of these
really?
people. I don't know a single one of these people.
You want to know something kind of funny? I was looking at the cast list last night, and for some reason, one of the actors' name was Will Patton. But, like,
that's the old guy.
Yeah,
who got killed.
He was the old guy, but I was, like, tired, so I read Bill Paxton. And I was like, wait, Bill Paxton is in this movie? I'm like, but he's dead. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, no. And then I realized it was Will Patton.
That's like, that's what I don't understand about this movie is like, you have one...
Bill Paxton would have made this movie good somehow.
You have one recognizable actor, which is Will Patton, and he gets killed in the first 20 minutes.
And he's the best character.
Yeah, he would have been great.
I would have loved it if it just the whole movie, they like, dragged along Will Patton, and he just, like, said these one-liners the whole movie. Like, I'd been fine with that.
I would have wanted to, like, listen to his, like, generic critiques of American society.
Yeah.
Like, they would have made the movie so much better. And, like, that's another thing I wanted to say is, like, okay, so I think Jonathan was probably thinking the same thing, but once I realized that this movie was not going to have interesting characters or interesting dialogue, it didn't have a gripping story, I was like, okay, like, at least there's probably going to be some, like, fun violence in it.
That's what I thought too, because like I was tricking myself towards the beginning. Like, I'm like, oh well, this is boring. But when they get to the purge, or after the purge, because of the plot, it's gonna be interesting. And then like, I think it was like 5-10 minutes after the purge ended and violence started happening, I realized this movie isn't gonna be good.
No, and we even speculated. We don't even know what the official rating is, but what I was saying, like, while we were driving back from watching the movie, I said, that was barely, like, above a PG-13.
Yeah,
like, I
was.
would be comfortable showing most of that movie to Julian. Like, there was one scene where, like, a guy's head got smashed in, but they didn't even show it. They just had the sound, and then they showed some blood. But, like, they didn't actually show it.
And it's not like the other movies are, like, Italian exploitation or anything, but, like, they're at least like a little more grittier and more twisted than this.
Yeah, and like if you're gonna make a movie that's about like the breakdown of society and about these like violent rebels just like rampaging across the nation and killing people, you have to have at least one scene that's like somewhat disturbing. And there's nothing like that.
Is that mental?
Yeah, it is mental.
Like you can't take a concept that disturbing and not show anything disturbing. Like,
I know.
Like, how do you handle disturbing materials by not showing anything? Like, that's not how it works.
Another thing is the action scenes were just all close up and shaky. Another thing that I hate about movies like that, like,
right?
Like in the last one they did, I think it was the last one. There was like a cool scene where, there was like, it was quote unquote one take with obvious cuts. Like, you could see the action. It was fine. Like, it was fun. Like, why didn't you do that here? I think they hired a different director, and this director only directed television. So that's probably why it sucked, directing-wise. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe he's just so used to not showing cool violence that he decided for a Purge movie not to show cool violence. I don't know.
The direction was so flat that there really wasn't a single interesting image in this entire movie. The only image I actually liked in the movie was like the horse laying down when like the cool guy I was gonna say
the horse though. The horse was cool.
Well, the horse was also probably had been tranquilized, and that's why it laid down.
Yeah, but he did lay down rather suddenly. I don't know if horses do that.
They just shot it up with a tranquilizer.
Yeah, they shot it with a tranquilizer gun and then like cut it and like edited it out with CGI and then just had the horse plop down. I don't know.
Like, yeah, I mean, I was so like disappointed in like the just complete like facelessness of the villains. Like it was like they weren't even a presence in the movie, really.
Dude, can I show you the Purge Anarchy tonight? Like, please.
Yeah, we could watch it.
Oh no, your high-pitched voice tells me otherwise, but whatever.
No, I'm just making sure that what we watch is like amenable to Jessica's, movie needs.
Whatever.
We still need to finish Unhinged, but then maybe after that we could watch The Purge Anarchy.
Oh, I want to watch The Purge. Fuck the Unhinged. I want to watch The Purge Anarchy.
Okay.
Oh, whatever.
No, I'll watch it with you too.
Why do I always have to be the one that breaks everything? Like Jessica.
No. Jessica would like The Purge Anarchy.
Yeah.
Like watching that.
No, I know The Purge Anarchy. I feel like Jessica would like it.
No, it's because I feel bad for you because you didn't get to go to the movies with us. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to like.
What do you mean she didn't get to? Hey, Jessica,
well, yeah, you're
the lucky one today. Jesus.
Yeah, it was
You're
really
unlucky with Spiral, but that was for other reasons.
It was like really hot in the theater too, and uncomfortable, which didn't help
there
things.
There was an AC here in Washington. Yeah.
Like I probably wouldn't have cared about the lack of AC in the theater.
It was quite cool today.
It wasn't in the theater, and if the movie, you know what, if the movie had been good, I wouldn't have cared. Like, and you know how I was mentioning earlier, like, there were people getting up to go to the bathroom? Like, when I'm really into a movie in the theater, I don't care if I have to go to the bathroom. I just sit there and fucking hold it,
Me too. Yeah.
And it's like, but, like, people were clearly like, hey, I have to pee. Let's get the fuck out of here for 5 minutes and not see this
people probably,
shit.
like, chugged their soda just so in 20 minutes they had to pee and leave.
Dude, and it was so funny because, like, I think I mentioned this earlier too, but after the dude brought next to us fell asleep and snored for 20 minutes, I started falling asleep too because the midsection of the movie was so dull.
Dude, yeah.
And Jonathan had to like elbow me to like wake me back up because I was like losing interest so fast that I was just drifting off.
I was also mad because I couldn't like vape because like the girl was next to me. I should have like asked you to switch seats and like vape next to the asleep guy.
So I like how we're not even talking about the movie anymore because we have nothing else to say about it.
Yeah, let's just.
Sounds like you had plenty of bathroom breaks enough to vape.
I didn't actually.
He went to the bathroom before the movie started so that he wouldn't have to get up in the middle of it, and it turned out that it would have been better for him if he had because there was nothing to see for the most part.
Positively about this movie, it wasn't that long, so I did text Daniel because Daniel was maybe gonna go to the theater to see it tomorrow. I texted him, don't do it. Don't fucking
That is not worth $14.
Rent it later if you want for like $3.99 on Amazon. Don't fucking pay to see it in theaters. If you're gonna go see anything in theater, well, Spiral's out of theaters, but I don't know. Maybe Quiet Place 2 is probably better than this. I guess you could go see that.
You know what I feel like movie theaters should do is like when movies like are really shitty and they're just box office failures, they should just start selling tickets for like $2 or $3 each just to like get more people into the theater. They're like, okay, you can see this good new movie that came out for $15, but if you want to see a piece of shit, this is like $2. You can take everybody in and just laugh at how bad it is.
Hey, I just thought of another idea. You know what they should do? They should give everyone like headsets, like headphones. So you don't need to listen to people like crackling their fucking candy wrappers around you and taking calls, and they should just give you like headsets, and they have the 3D audio of the theater, but you don't have to listen to other humans. Like that would be lovely, actually.
Yeah. Honestly though, I
For
mean,
me.
There were a couple minutes where, like, the dude bra was, like, fumbling with things and, like, making weird noises, and he had his phone out a few times. But other than that, like, there wasn't that much, like, noise in the theater. I think people were
wasn't too bad.
I felt like
They were just
everybody.
numb.
I felt like everybody in the theater was just doing this, Jonathan. Like,
Yeah, they were just numb.
they were just like sitting there staring and like not excited.
Well, yeah, I feel like most people in the theater were like me, where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, are we gonna get to the good shit yet? Like, is this gonna be a good Purge movie?
never
No,
comes.
it isn't. It isn't. And then like by the end, most people are just like lethargic, and then it's done, and then everyone just leaves with like bored faces.
Wait. I wanted to say, okay, we need to like.
All right, before we get to
need
ratings,
to, need to do
go.
ratings now, but there's one more thing.
Yeah.
You have to tell the sort of like MST3K joke that like the girl next to you said about the Mad Max ripoff scene with the motorcycles.
Oh my god! Yeah, so like, there's a scene with the. First of all, this scene was like horribly edited and also not really well shot. So there's a scene.
Well, it wasn't even a chase scene. It lasted like a minute.
There's a scene where they're in like the front of a semi truck, and then like these motors. Dude, that scene sucked.
The motorcycling anarchists start pursuing them.
Yeah, the motorcycling anarchists start pursuing them. You never actually really know where the motorcycles are in relation to the truck during the chase scene. So like
shitty directing and editing. Yes,
the editing is really what made it bad, though, is because I can't blame the editor, because maybe they didn't get enough shots. Like, I don't know, like, but like what was happening, like the motorcycle was like, they'll come up on the sides of them, and then all of a sudden they'll be in front of them, or they'll be behind them, and it's just like, where are they? What's going on right now? And then like at one point, I think they were in front of the truck, like trying to stop them. And they were yelling at them to pull over. And then the girl next to me was like, why don't you just run them over with the truck? Like, come on.
Yeah.
And then the solution to this, by the way, was like the girl holding up a sign that she took from some body that said like, Purge Forever. And she put it in the window. And then the motorcycle killers were like, they're one of us. Let's move on. And then that
yeah, and I turned to Jonathan and I was like, "That was easy."
Yeah, that was really easy.
But the thing that made scenes like that work in Mad Max, where like Mel Gibson was driving the tanker and there were people on bikes surrounding him, is that they had all kinds of like mechanisms and chains and other ways to get onto the semi and attack him. Mm-hmm. These people had nothing; they just had their fucking bikes, and so like. The person next to Jonathan who said, why doesn't he just, like, run them over was 100% correct. Like, that would have been the instant solution to the problem. And it's like, what a like, lame, like, failure of a chase scene. And I'm telling you right now, that's, like, one of the only bits of action that you get in the whole fucking movie.
Yeah, there really isn't a lot of action in this movie. And the action you get is lame.
This movie, and we should pass judgment. And I'm kind of mad about it because I might give it a harsher rating than I originally thought I was going to. But let's give our ratings. I'm gonna let you go first.
You're gonna be first of all, you're gonna be more pissed when I show you Anarchy tonight. I don't care. I'm showing you Anarchy tonight.
All right, we'll watch it.
You're gonna be fucking pissed because you're gonna be like, hey, this is like kind of fun. Fuck that other one.
Well, I'm sure it'll be a lot better than that garbage.
Hey man, that's the way to get someone into the Purge movies, is show them the worst one. It's only uphill from here.
Okay. So let's. Do you want to do ratings, or do you have anything
I want
else
to do
say?
ratings, but I have like a new rating suggestion because I think it actually fits this. I'll rate it on our, on our rating system. But my new rating suggestion is just fucking lame in all caps.
Yeah.
Like lame. Next. Fuck you. Lame. Like that's my rating, dude. Lame. I mean, I guess on our rating system I'd give it aw, but like it's fucking lame. Just everything about it is lame. Everything from the characters to the action to like what they do with the story. It's all lame. It's boring.
Well,
it
look,
really is.
One of the things that so I would say on if we had like a 1 to 10 rating system, I'd give it like a 2.5. And, like, that's, I guess, the equivalent of, like, an Ol Nol. Because the second to worst rating... And, honestly, I'm harsher when a bigger budgeted movie is this bad, I'm harsher on it. Like, when somebody has, like, barely any resources to work with and they come up with a piece of shit, I'm more forgiving. But, like, when you have, like, this, you know, like, I asked Jonathan on the drive back, I'm like, okay, I don't know what the budget of this was. Maybe it was, like, $50 million. Would you say
let's
that?
look it up. Let's look it up really quick.
All right.
I'm curious, but go on. I'll
When
tell
a
you what
movie
it is.
has a budget of, say, $50 million, okay, you can afford to hire a decent screenwriter. And it's like we were saying on the drive back, both of us agreed, you know, I am not a great writer by any means, but I am absolutely confident that I could have written a far better screenplay than what was used for this
Dude,
film.
I am too, man. I feel like I could do it.
So what did the screenwriter get for this? Like 100,000, 150? It's like, you know, he probably got that amount for writing the screenplay, maybe more. And it's like, this writing is awful. I mean, how is there an excuse for this? How is there an excuse for getting paid, six figures probably for his screenplay and turning out something this like shit?
So it was 18 million. That's how much the movie got.
Yeah. So the screenwriter probably got what, like $100,000, maybe.
Box office 21.7.
What do you know anything about what screenwriters make on average?
I don't, but dude, James DeMarco, so he wrote all 5 films and directed the first 3 Purge movies. So he directed 3 of them that were good and wrote 3 of them that are good. Dude, what did you do?
There's something,
or something happened.
There's something going on here. Like, remember the first draft theory that we had?
Yeah.
There's something going on. This didn't have, like, proper edits.
This was a Blumhouse movie. I feel like maybe something fucky went on with him and Jason Blum. But
this got released before it should have.
No. Do you want to hear a fun fact?
Sure.
First of all, it got released late because of COVID. Second of all, DeMonico, that's the screenwriter and director of the first 3. His name. His first screenplay was Robin Williams' comedy Jack. By Francis Ford Coppola. You know that movie?
Francis Ford Coppola made an awful 90s comedy with Robin Williams.
Yeah, you don't know Jack? You've never seen it?
I know what it is.
Yeah, okay, you know what it is. I won't go into it.
I'm just kidding. I'm like, I'm just sort of saying, like, wow, these are the absurd things that happened in the 90s.
You know what? I have actually actually conspiracy theory. Are you ready for Jonathan's conspiracy theory hour? Ready? So my theory here is that this Jason or James, whatever, the character who wrote the first 3, not the 4th, and directed the first 3, not the 4th, doesn't want anything to do with it. Why do you think he didn't direct the 4th one? Maybe he just didn't give a fuck, dude. Maybe he's just like, I don't care about this movie.
Maybe he, like, took the money out of desperation because he's, like, falling on hard times or something, and then he just, like, I don't care about the series anymore, but I'll just write the screenplay and take the money, and, like, it didn't, it's obvious that the screenplay did not go through an editing process. It didn't. It feels like a first draft. If we rewatched it and made notes, we could point out, like, probably 100 inconsistencies in that screenplay, and that's the kind of stuff that gets caught in edits. Mm-hmm. And it didn't. That stuff, like this was so poorly edited, inconsistent. It didn't make any sense. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's not explained. The characters are really underdeveloped. It feels like an unfinished screenplay.
If my theory is correct and this guy doesn't actually care about these movies anymore, they need to hand it off to someone else. It's
like Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, like Robert Rodriguez. Well, I only said that because the film was set in El Paso, Texas, and, like, it also had, like, elements of, like,
well, and there was there was a bit
culture,
of, but Jonathan, there was a bit of From Dusk Till Dawn here. There was a little bit. Yeah. It was a little bit of, like,
they
that.
need to, honestly, Robert Rodriguez is the perfect director to do a Purge movie.
He would have made this fun, entertaining, good, well written, interesting.
Have you seen Machete? He would have made this good.
Look, I love Robert Rodriguez. I've seen Machete. I've seen From Dusk Till Dawn. I've seen what was the one he did as the half of Grindhouse?
Planet Terror.
Planet Terror.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie.
It's not as good as Death Proof, but yes.
I think it's better, but
Excuse me? Oh, no, fuck you. We're getting into this now. Death Proof versus...
No, that's another podcast.
No, we're doing it now. Death Proof versus Planet Terror. Graham, why do you think Planet Terror is a better movie? And then I'll correct you. Go.
Because the characters... Because the initial hour... The first hour of Death Proof has a lot of annoying dialogue that I don't like. Between shallow characters who I don't care about.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was... it was character development in standard Tarantino format.
Jonathan, I have a love-hate relationship with Death Proof because the last half of it, so the first 50 minutes, I hate. And the last 50 minutes is one of the best movie experiences I've ever had. So I don't know how to rate that movie. Because as soon as Kurt Russell comes into it, it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. And the first half, it's one of the worst. So I don't know how to rate that movie, but Planet Terror is consistently entertaining.
So I'm triggered because Death Proof is actually one of my top 10 favorite.
Yeah, but did you listen to what I just said?
I did. I'm getting to it.
I'm gonna kill myself.
I'm gonna get to it.
Just
I heard you
before you talk.
Graham, I heard you. You said the last half of the movie is amazing and one of the best car chase sequences I imagine.
Well, I saw it in the theater.
I know you did.
And it was the full Grindhouse. So they played the one movie and then the second one. I saw all of it.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. So I understand that. You were bored by the first half and you loved the awesome one.
I wasn't bored by the first half. I was triggered and hated it.
Wait, Kurt Russell comes into it really early on.
I hated the characters just talking horrible, shallow dialogue about their boyfriends for literally.
That's not what that was.
That's
we need to pull out the
it.
script and see how it wasn't all about their boyfriends.
Okay, we need to save this for another podcast.
No, I'm not gonna fuck you and everyone who hates Death Proof.
I don't hate it. I didn't say that.
Or doesn't like.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
There's this thing online where everyone shits on Death Proof to the point where.
Did I say I don't like it?
No, you didn't. But I'm complaining towards other people. So if you're one of these people online who have made Tarantino come out and say apologize for Death Proof. Because this has happened. Tarantino came out and was yeah, I'm sorry about Death Proof. And, everyone's it's his worst movie. Fuck you. You're a piece of goddamn shit. You're tasteless. You don't know what you're fucking talking about. You jumped on a bandwagon because you saw everyone hated Death Proof. You're an asshole. Fuck you. I love Death Proof.
I love it, too.
All that dialogue that you didn't like is important because it leads up to Kurt Russell and his manipulation and how he fucks with these characters. He figures out all this personal shit that is revealed in the conversations without him at the beginning. He figures it all out just from listening to the radio. He figures it all out and then fucks with these girls. And that wouldn't have happened. That awesome manipulation would not have happened if those girls didn't talk about it for 20 minutes before. That's why it's so important. That's why that movie is good. Kurt Russell is just manipulating these girls, figuring out the intimacies of their life and revealing it to them and then manipulating them with it.
I feel if we start talking about this right now, it's not going to end.
It won't.
Because I have I already have responses to what you just said that and it's no. So we should really just look audience of 0 people. We will address this in a future podcast. That is a promise.
Yeah, we'll address how Robert Rodriguez made a fun, amazing, cool, yet stupid zombie movie, and then Quentin Tarantino made a slasher masterpiece, and somehow people think the latter is
but Jonathan,
the former.
How do you know that I can't make an argument that Robert Rodriguez made a better movie?
He did.
How do you know?
Yeah, did he get Zoe Bell to risk her life on the hood of a car at 60 to 90 miles per hour for the best car chase scene ever filmed? Did he do that? What's the answer to that question, Graham?
That doesn't make it a better.
Nope, he didn't.
I thought the best car scene
doesn't make it a better
French Connection.
No, it wasn't French Connection.
No, it's Bullet.
But
Fuck all of you. Anyway, let's send this review.
Look, I've never seen French Connection. I just thought somebody.
Well, it's not as good as Death Proof.
The car chase scene in French Connection
very
is
good.
okay, but it's not the best.
It's not
And
the best.
Bullets is better.
Somebody said it, not
The
me.
bullet car chase scene is the best. It's a work of art, but Death Proof is number 2.
No.
This is what I said. We're going there. Like we're
Okay.
we have to wrap
All
it
right.
up.
I give it an NS / the new rating of lame. And
I give it an all.
You give it an all no.
Or no, I kind of give it an all. I mean, like
Wait, all is the rating. It's not all no. It's
no,
just all.
there's give. Here's a knife. There's
Capital
all,
image?
and then there's
Then
all
there's
no.
all no. No, there's no all no. You created that.
There's
and yeah.
there's here's a knife is the lowest rating.
Yeah.
All is the second.
And then it's on that.
And then and then ane.
Yeah, there's no all no. It's just all or anya or.
I
here's
give
a
it
knife.
all.
Okay, well you give it the penultimate bad rating.
Yeah, because fuck this movie.
Okay. Yeah, fuck this movie. All right, we're done. Bye, people.
Ane.
Bye.